Hey guys, Bruce the Budget Aquarist here with a topic that has been done to death, but I'm going to do it anyways to try to do a simple video. So when you're talking to people just getting into the hobby, or young kids who don't understand it, maybe this easy demonstration will help. So I've got a couple ways to do this. We're going to start with pictures. All right, first, kids, new people. Fish poop, and they also pee, and they also we feed them. That food and that stuff breaks down into what's called ammonia. Okay. Now, there is some good bacteria that will grow up in your water. It takes a little time, and that good bacteria, we'll call it good bacteria 1, will turn that poop and that old food and waste into what's called nitrites. All right. Now, nitrites don't sit on the bottom of the fish tank. They're all around floating in the water, top, bottom, in the middle, everywhere. All right. Now then, as time goes on in your tank, good bacteria 2 comes along. We call these beneficial bacterias. And good bacteria breaks down the nitrites into what's called nitrates. Now, nitrates are bad for fish, okay? It's pretty much a poison for them. So you need to get them out of there. The only ways to do that really are through plants and water changes. Now, it's very difficult to have enough plants in a fish tank that it will get all of the bad nitrates out of there. So you need to do water changes. Now, also keep in mind, every tank is different. If you have a 10-gallon tank with 4 little neons in it, you probably won't have a lot of nitrates. But if you have 10 tiger barbs in a 10-gallon, then you're going to get a lot more nitrates, and you're going to need to do either a more frequent water change, or you're going to need to do a larger water change. But let's take a look using some water and how this works. So now, to make this visual for you, I am going to show you this glass that I'm using as my refill water. This is going to be my aquarium, and then this is going to be nitrates, okay, to show you what I'm talking about. So you start out at the beginning of the week, everything's pretty clean, your fish start pooping and peeing, and you start adding food, and this is what you get at the end of the week, okay. After your tank builds up good bacteria and you have nitrates in there, then you have to start keeping up with your water changes, with the goal in mind being a balance. All right, so now I'm going to add my fresh water. And as you can see, it's still a little bit discolored. So what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to adjust it. I'm going to maybe slow down a little on my feeding so that I'm not overfeeding. I might have to rethink how many fish I have in there. But the goal is to have less nitrates build up in the tank, so that at the end of the week, when I go and I do my water change, sometimes you play around with it. Sometimes you do a 30%, sometimes a 40%, sometimes a 50% water change. But the goal, obviously, is that your water is nice and clean with low nitrates at the beginning of the week, and that as things build up, the nitrates are still relatively low when you go to change your water at the end of the week. And again, it's a balancing act, folks. So like I said, sometimes people get really excited and get just tons and tons of fish, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you just have to be prepared, because you need to make sure you're putting water back in there that is very similar in temperature. And then you also want to make sure that you're using dechlorinating chemicals or conditioners if you have bad water, because you do not want to make a 50, 60, 70% water change and shock your fish. So ideally, a lot of people like to get to the point where they're doing a 30 or 40 or 50% water change. Here's a quick look at me. Oh, there's my dog Loki. And I'm walking my fish room here. And it just depends. I've got a couple of tanks in other areas too, but this kind of gives you a general idea of my setup, where I've got water I can put in while at the same time removing water from the opposite end of the tank. And I do this One time a week on Sundays, I do a 30 to 40% change. And then on Wednesdays, I do about a 10% change, particularly on tanks when I'm doing, when I have things breeding, which in a lot of those tanks right now, there's all kinds of fancy plecos breeding. So just wanted you to take a look at that. That's my setup. So it's extremely important. Hope you learned a little something, and hope that visible coffee demo helped you out. And keep in mind, folks, I know you experienced folks know all about the nitrogen cycle and water changes. This is primarily meant for new people and maybe younger kids or something like that. So if you want to explain it to somebody, hopefully this video will help you out. Take care.